That works for me.
All right, this is quite the image, guys. We are currently trying to go live on Instagram because it takes a second longer. As we know, it's gotta register that we're going live on this first, but
And
we are
there we are.
officially live
We're
on
live.
Instagram now, baby. All right. Guys, I was just I'm back in Kansas City, and when you come back to Kansas City, you see the lovely Christmas spirit that they have in Kansas City, and that includes this lovely image we have
This
on our screen right now.
abomination of a Christmas ornament.
They are selling this at Union Station for Garrett. How much? I saw that you could see the price
It.
tag
I
on
mean, the
here.
price tag's there. I wouldn't pay probably 5 cents for it, but $40 is crazy for that just cursed image of whatever that is.
I mean, it's at Union Station gift shop. If you guys want to go get it, go support this.
Probably burn it at this point. I mean,
Dude, that doesn't even look like Kelsey.
it's
Like
not even close, like at all.
I, it looks like I don't even know what it looks like. It just looks so bad. It looks like they penciled on his thing. Anyway, if this is how you want to decorate your Christmas tree, by all means. Because I mean, right now I got mine back here. I got a Guardians of the Galaxy poster because I'm back home in Kansas City. Our mic quality might not be as good this time, but you're gonna have to bear with us here because, as always, you know, this is just Talkin Chop. Let's get out of this ugly,
Yeah, let's
atrocious
just get this
image.
thing out of here. It's just terrible.
Speaking of just terrible, man, that was a
Could be
game that
us.
that could be that was a game that we could have lost, Garrett. We definitely could have lost that game, but we didn't.
Yeah.
And
Who? I mean, who could have guessed the Chiefs going in to a under par opponent and playing to their level? I've never seen that before as a Chiefs fan. Never once. We just can't blow out teams. I don't understand. We keep them close. We could have really pulled away there at near the middle or the end of the third quarter, but just something about our team, even the past 3 years, we just can't seem to pull away.
I'm looking at the comments right now because we are live again for our Spotify listeners. Sorry, we don't have the good mics for you Spotify listeners, but Forge Ahead. Now that I know how to say his name, he said it's a dog water offense. This is the best offense we've had all year today. This is the most fantasy points Mahomes has ever put up, but
And it's really telling something, huh?
it's the defense now. It's the defense too. It's just like no one. Not. Yeah, I told this last week. We can't have everybody be good at the same time, and it's really quite annoying. Like we can't have every single thing finally work. It's like we always got to find ways to make it close. I told my dad in the car when he picked me up from the airport to Kansas City. He's like, "Oh, we're gonna blow out the Panthers." I'm like, "No, it's gonna be a close game. It's gonna be a one-score game." And boy, howdy, we need to do a game-winning drive on them.
And it's always these under the radar quarterbacks that just come into against the Kansas City Chiefs and just play lights out. Last week it was Bryce Young. Obviously, he had a phenomenal game. Last year it was Aiden O'Connell, who we're going to talk about a little later on Christmas, lighting up the Chiefs. Right? Obviously, I mean he didn't have a ton of yards that game, but still went into Arrowhead on Christmas and beat the Chiefs. So I'm not sure what our defense has to do going forward to kind of clean up these mistakes, but it was like a hot knife through butter. I mean, Bryce Young was just making these throws under pressure, not under pressure. I mean, he had that one just dime, like 30-yard throw when he had five dudes rushing his face. I mean, he was just poised in the pocket all night. Not sure what is making these quarterbacks so comfortable.
Well, they're not getting sacked. They're breaking sacks. They're getting elusive. I feel like we're just letting them break contain so often and just we aren't finishing is what it really feels like on defense. Maybe we're getting too comfortable on defense because of how much success we've had early on, but the sacks aren't coming. We're going to talk later about what Chris Jones did this game because I'll let you know it's a bunch of zeros on the stat sheet. Definitely probably generated some pressure, but I mean, according to the final stat sheets, it's 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. So that's not good at all. But let's get into our transactions first off because, got to get through the business stuff before we get to the, oh, Chiefs are terrible talk. But listen, this is a move that we didn't get to cover last week that I'm so excited for. This is
Finally.
better. This is better than any other move we could have ever made. We got a left tackle, Garrett. We got a left tackle. Welcome, DJ Humphries, a guy that I was very fond of. I didn't think he could come back this season because of his injury. He tore his ACL in week 17, which is of last year, which was honestly still pretty recent. It's not even a year, and he's come back already. DJ Humphries was a first round pick from the Cardinals in 2015. He's made a Pro Bowl or two, and he's been a mainstay on the Cardinals. Underrated because the Cardinals have been pretty irrelevant in that time. But if he has even half of who he was, Garrett, this is an upgrade over the worst left tackle in the NFL right now.
Yeah. And I mean, we've talked about this multiple weeks on the podcast so far. It's just the difference between our interior offensive line, which is consistently ranked in the top 1, 2, and 3 in the NFL, and the flip side of that being our tackle position, which that duo is ranked the worst in the NFL by a lot. It is not close. Jawaan Taylor on the right side, consistent penalty getter, really not that great as a pass proer. I mean, he's decent in the run game. And then, of course, you got Wanya Morris and Kingsley, that duo over there that no matter who they decide to throw in there. Wanya just had another terrible game last night, just letting rushers just not even touching them. I mean, he sees them off the pressure, kicks out there, and just whiffs completely multiple times. Mahomes has been under pressure and under siege the majority of the season, and it's because of our tackle position. Hopefully, DJ Humphries coming back or coming to the team can alleviate one side of the pressure, and we can, motion and put our scheme towards helping the other side with Jawaan Taylor. That is being said if DJ Humphries plays well, which I expect him to.
I expect him to, pick up where he left off. I mean, it is going to be a little hard to work back from his injury, but like I said, he can't be much worse. You also have great guard play next to you, so it should help them if you know your P's and Q's, know exactly what you're supposed to do, how you're going to pick up different defenders. Because, quite frankly, what they're doing, Garrett, is they're just like faking slightly inside, and then they just run around our tackles, which is probably a fundamental pass rush move that I myself could go out there and maybe get a pressure on Mahomes at this point because it's so bad. But
I mean, our two biggest offenders out there is stunts. What I noticed in that game, especially what the Carolina took advantage of, is anytime we had a stunt or a twist on the outside, Jawaan Taylor especially bit super hard. He would see that guy on the outside slant hard inside and just kind of turn his entire body, drive him inside, allowing the guy twisting around to the outside to get the pressure. He needs to be able to realize that, notice it, make sure the guard picks up the slant, twist comes back around. Because if anyone leaves a gap, someone's coming back to replace it, right? So as long as he's not biting, we'll be okay. I think DJ Humphries on the other side is going to handle those pretty well. It's just giving us another option out there is really what we need, because as I've said before, and as a lot of people know, if we have these offensive line problems going into the playoffs against better teams, against better pass rushes, we are not going to be successful in anything we do.
Yeah, and I mean, Gibson Junie in the comments says we're going to get bounced in the first round if we don't fix this tackle problem. We saw in the Super Bowl in 2020 when we got our butts kicked and handed to us by Tom Brady and the Patriots. That was when finally the O-line broke down and got injured and everyone got hurt. And what happened? We got exposed. And that's going to happen because let's look at the stats, Garrett, because I have them pulled up. Keep in mind, this is against a Panthers defense who has been struggling to find an identity all season. We gave them one. It's called sacking Mahomes. Mahomes was sacked 5 times in this game. That's horrible. And this was arguably Mahomes' best game. It could have been 10 times better if he wasn't getting sacked for like 10 plus yards on some of these horrible sacks because, Mahomes is trying to make a play, but just, you have 2 or 3 guys running at you. It's not even one guy. Wanya Morris and Jawaan Taylor both had their second worst game of the season per PFF. Together, they decided to have it at the same time. So Wanya Morris with a PFF grade of 50.7, he allowed a sack, he allowed a hit, he allowed 2 quarterback hurries, 4 pressures, and he got himself a penalty. Jawaan Taylor, not much better. 52.2 grade, 1 sack, 1 hit, 3 hurries, 5 pressures, 2 penalties. Arguably worse, but somehow PFF gave him a better grade. But this is just not sustainable.
Yeah, and as we said before, right, it's like these kind of things could be excusable. Like that's why Kingsley is getting, a little bit of leeway, right? We just drafted him. He's a second round player. He has time to develop. But guys like Wanya Morris and Jawaan Taylor, who, by the way, Jawaan Taylor is not a new guy. He's not, a newbie. He's not new to the play. He is making $80 million, and he is playing like this, right? So he either needs to get better now, or we need to find a solution quickly.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, the Jawaan Taylor signing is definitely a question mark. We've had some fans in our comments bring up, why didn't we just sign Orlando Brown Jr. instead for cheaper than Jawaan Taylor? The one thing I will say about that is Orlando Brown Jr.'s money is guaranteed. and we do have some outs in Taylor's contract in the future. Although I think we might have eliminated those outs, Garrett, by restructuring his contract this year. So maybe the deal is starting to get bad again. But Orlando Brown Jr. has been about average, the same season grade as Juwan, but even still, like, you just got to question.
I mean, even when Juwan was playing for us, he had
You mean Orlando Brown?
Orlando Brown. Sorry, even when he was playing for us, I mean, there were times when he was getting beat just as badly as someone like Juwan Taylor or Wanya Morris, and I was watching that specifically, right? So I don't think going back to him would have been the solution anyway. But the issue is tackle is becoming a really premium position in the NFL, and finding one that can at least anchor down one side, especially with the evolution and the speed and the size and the technique of these D ends and D tackles, it's going to be a lot harder for offensive linemen coming in the near future.
Yes, and we did have someone mention in the comments. I can't say your username because it's just a bunch of letters, but Mahomes was just standing there looking at wide open Kelsey, refusing to throw the ball, and then when he finally did, Kelsey dropped it because he was caught off guard. That has happened a lot too this year. Mahomes has definitely held on to the ball when he has had clean pockets, and these coverage sacks have emerged. But that goes to our second problem, which is the wide receivers that we're choosing to give snaps to. Garrett, who do you think had the most snaps at wide receiver this week?
Probably Worthy.
That would be I would be accepting that if that was the truth. Justin Watson was actually out there the most.
Yeah, that's also fair.
I don't even think he had what were his stats in that game? He might have
I know
had
he had one catch. So his first target was a drop that was which pretty rare for him. He's not really a ball dropper. His second one came on a first down, I believe.
Yeah. So the way the splits worked were Justin Watson was out there 65% of the time. Worthy was out there 64% of the time. Juju was out there 55%. And then D-Hop was only out there 45% of the snaps on offense. Veach, are you seriously doing the thing where we don't want D-Hop to hit 60 because then we have to give the Titans a 4th-round pick instead of a 5th-round pick? Because I swear to God, if we don't pick up offensively and you're barely scraping by because of that, I'd give up the 4th-round pick at that point.
Yeah, because you see him when he's out there, and he's not having any problems finding soft spots in zones, finding ways to get open. He knows the playbook already because regardless of what we've put him out there on trick plays, on all this like razzle dazzle stuff, right? But I'm not sure why he keeps getting taken out. That's another thing with Kelsey too. I get it with Kelsey's age, right? He's getting up there, might be a little tired, but like, we're in the middle of a drive, and he just had a really great play, maybe like a 20-yard catch, and he's already off the field. It's been 2 plays, right? So I'm not sure why they're taking them out so early.
All I'm going to say, though, is 5 catches for 35 yards and a touchdown for D-Hop on only 45% of the snaps played is really impressive. And, like, why aren't we putting him out there more if that's the case? Like, and then you have Justin Watson had 1 catch for 15 yards, and that he was out there the most out of everyone. Like, okay. And Juju was out there really a lot as well and only had 1 catch for 6 yards. Now, I will say I commend Mahomes. We threw it to 9 different receivers in this game. That's awesome. That's what I love to see. That's vintage Chiefs offense. Great to see. But like the receivers are the ones that are not doing well because it's Kelsey with 6 catches, Noah Gray with 4 catches. Then you have Kareem Hunt with 3, Samaje with 2, Carson Steele with 1, Justin Watson with 1, Juju with 1, and then we got Hopkins with 5 and Worthy with 4 going back to wide receivers. But like,
I mean, obviously with the plus side of that, we are getting the ball spread out to a lot of different receivers and a lot of places where the ball needs to be. But at the same time, as we talked about last week, we don't have a receiver, or Mahomes isn't allowing a receiver to go over 100 and take over a game. Right?
That's true. We haven't had a receiver
I
go over 100.
I understand the benefits of having a spread out offense, getting the ball in places the defense might not expect. But like we saw last week against Buffalo, right? If we have a hot hand, why aren't we feeding the hot hand? That's what I don't understand with Mahomes.
Yeah, well, and I mean, it's also become too, like, I feel like we're trying to still hide our hands for the playoffs. I think Andy Reid is trying to hide the playbook. It's like, go compare it to college football. It's like what Texas did against Kentucky. Texas knows they have the A&M game coming up. That's going to be the most important thing. What did? They didn't show their playbook at all, and they just ran the ball like 30-plus times, and that's it, because that's all you need to do to beat Kentucky. But I feel like that's what we do with the regular season. We just try to do barely enough to win enough games to get the first seed in the playoffs or a high enough seed in the playoffs, but then, we just don't actually show our full strength. Jackson just came us with a stat 49.4% average for D Hop on the season with the Chiefs. So he hasn't even hit 50% snaps yet on
So,
average.
and I mean, and he's pretty much outperforming every single other receiver we have out there in terms of production, and he's significantly under snapping all of those other receivers. So I'm sure Veach has something in mind, or Andy has something in mind, but as we've seen before, this could backfire. We got into a dogfight with the Panthers, and I'm not sure if that's because we're hiding the playbook. We got in a dogfight with the Carolina Panthers. I'm
And
not
honestly,
exactly.
it wasn't even a big offensive issue. It might have been a defensive issue. We're going to open it up to questions right now because you guys are actually going crazy right now and want to hear them. But let's go read off some questions. Jackson, if you want to chime in and bring some up. I'm also going to say we're going to go back to the injury reports too because there's a lot of questions about that. We didn't finish that segment off yet. So bear with us. Let's read some questions. Jackson, if you want to unmute yourself. But we got Mahomes is just standing there looking more. All right, Corona Bay. Corona Bay just said ask questions. He didn't even provide any questions.
I think they're trying to get on the stream, but that's not really how it works with the way we set it up.
Oh, yeah,
We
yeah, yeah.
apologize on that.
We're streaming to multiple platforms right now. I'm actually going to put the YouTube one in the chat because it's actually way easier for us to see comments as well. So,
But also this comment I just saw kind of ties into what we're trying to do with going back into the injury report. Yeah, bringing back Pacheco and Omenahu is going to open up a lot more opportunities for us, especially with the offense. I think bringing Pacheco has that extra little bit of speed and spunk when he runs the ball. Kareem Hunt is the perfect 4-yard run back. He will not get you these huge, just explosive 30-yard runs, but he will consistently get you these 4.5, 3.9-yard runs, right? So bringing back Pacheco to kind of like in tandem, they run off of each other, right? So once Pacheco gets tired, put Kareem in. Once Kareem gets tired, put Pacheco back in. Those two are really hard runners. So I just expect our run game to be a little bit better as the season progresses. Obviously, with the injury, might hamper him a little bit when he gets back, but I expect Pacheco to be explosive once he gets back, especially in pass pro, which we talked about earlier. That'll help us out a lot.
That's what I was holding on to that point too. Is like he's going to be in there on third downs, and he's going to add a dynamic threat on third down too to pass protect and all that jazz that I'm really excited to have him back for. I want to bring up P. Ryan because he had 1 carry for 13 yards. We had some new ways to orchestrate a run game today, and I really liked them. Mecole Hardman not on jet sweeps, but Mecole Hardman taking it up the middle 2 times, and he got 15 total yards on both of those runs. And then P. Ryan with his 1 carry for 13. Why don't we use some of those other guys more? Give Kareem Hunt some relief already. Like we were running pretty efficiently on the Panthers. It was a slow grind, but I just feel like we could have ran the ball more, maybe to burn some time, especially because we were up by so many points for a while. We kind of just let them get back into the game. That was really the key.
I mean, it's like I said, at the cold open, it's like we had a chance to put the game away, go up by multiple scores in the third quarter, and we just didn't. We get our drives stalled out, and our defense just lets up these huge chunk plays that get them down in field. And we saw that earlier in the game. Chunk play, and then once our defense got them in the red zone, we stopped them, gave them a lot of field goals early on, but we need to be able to not give up these chunk plays and give them consistent field goals throughout the game, right? And another thing I wanted to mention, especially with Mecole Hardman, I don't know what changed with him from last year to this year, but it feels like he is just able to like bump off these tackles really early on. He was aggressive in those 2 runs that he had, and on kick return and punt return, there were dudes bouncing off of him, and which is not something you see a lot from Mecole Hardman. I did see reports or like he put on a little bit of muscle, and a little bit of weight, so maybe that's kind of a benefit to his game, but he's kind of turning into a little bit of a sneaky weapon, especially in special teams.
Yeah. All right, let's go to the injury report then and finish this off because when are we expected to get Isaiah Pacheco and Omenahu back? I mean, they've been activated off IR, so they got 21 days of practice in which any point they could be, brought up to the active roster. The turnaround for 4 days, apparently Pacheco could have been good to go against the Panthers, but part of me thinks they're not going to have him play this week. Like Andy Reid hasn't spoken on it yet. I mean, Jackson, if you could look up any information that's come out in the last hour, because now is like the golden time for information. Usually we record on Tuesdays, guys, because Tuesdays has more of that information out. But today we decided to do Monday because it's fresh on our head. But Pacheco and Amenahue are still like up in the air for if they're going to come back. They are practicing though, so keep that in mind.
Yeah. And the issue with bringing these guys back earlier than, what the time slot allows is that what some Chiefs fans might not know is that we're coming up really close on a 3-game stretch over 10 days, right?
Yeah.
We already had our bye, and it was like week 6 bye, right? So we're going into a 3-game stretch where it goes over 10 days. So the amount of pressure and the amount of stress that's going to put on these athletes' bodies is astronomical. We kind of got screwed when it comes to the scheduling. A lot of the teams that are playing on, that Christmas Eve kind of got screwed. But that's just the way it is for right now. We really need to win these last couple games and secure that number 1 seed, because if we don't, that means our last bye would have been on week 6, and we're going to be into a deep playoff run, hopefully, with no rest.
Speaking of Christmas, Garrett, they said Hollywood Brown might be back by Christmas. That would be crazy. The reason he even is out for this season is kind of sad and just dumb, honestly. So he got that shoulder injury in the first play of the preseason game. And then that shoulder injury, they said, okay, we think that it will heal normally if you just, rest and relax, and it should be good to go within 5 weeks. It healed wrong, so they had to break it and do surgery on it and refix the issues there. And the surgery healing process is much longer, which I don't want to rush him back if that's the case, because those shoulder injuries are no joke. For example, Tyreek Hill had this exact same injury, and he was able to have it heal normally without needing surgery. So they thought Hollywood might be in the same track. He wasn't. That's why he's out for the entire season almost. But maybe not. He might play on Christmas, Garrett. That's what the reports are saying. People are getting healthier quicker than they were supposed to.
Would help us win this Christmas instead of losing it last season to the team we're playing this week. So
yeah, the Raiders beat us on Christmas is actually crazy. With Aiden O'Connell, who is now practicing this week. He is out last week because they had Desmond Ridder out there, Garrett. So it'll be interesting to see which quarterback we get. There were some rumors that Daniel Jones might join the Raiders, but those rumors have since been silenced, as Daniel Jones seems to be taking his time on picking his next destination, which good on that guy. Kind of got screwed, honestly. So let him pick out.
I mean, he was really bad, but they did screw him. Like the way they handled that situation, throwing him out there at scout team safety is kind of diabolical.
Well, and they're also screwing Drew Lock, because you know why they're not playing Drew Lock, Garrett? If he hits a certain amount of games played in his contract, he gets another couple million. So that's why they're not having Drew Lock be the starter, that's just also messed up, man. Like, how penny pincher do you have to be to not want to pay?
I mean, this is why poverty franchises stay poverty, though, like the Giants.
Yeah, well, and I'm just confused with the Cowboys and Giants right now, why they're not playing their young quarterbacks that they just acquired. Wouldn't you want to see if they're good? Like Trey Lance for the Cowboys, you traded a 4th-round pick for him. Cowboys, you need to see if he's good or not. This is your chance to see if he's good or not, because his contract expires at the end of the year. Drew Lock is a young quarterback who started his career 5-1, with the only loss being to the team that went, the Chiefs being the Super Bowl champions that year. And Drew Lock looked really good when he first started, and then now it's been like, he's had some cool wins in Seattle. Giants, play him, see if he's worth maybe solving the quarterback controversy.
And a lot of people forget that he was in a really tight quarterback race with the Seahawks, with Geno Smith, who played pretty well coming out of that quarterback competition. So if it was anywhere close to what they were saying, he's got to have some kind of at least a little bit of spark and a little bit of talent, right?
Yeah, I know. So I don't know, man. You can't teach these old franchise owners anything, I guess, because they just refuse to see. They just refuse to make smart decisions, I feel like. I mean, shout out to the Chiefs for having a plan when it came to their quarterback future, especially after we have been historically terrible at drafting quarterbacks. And there was that joke that we would always, sign the 49ers quarterback once they didn't work out there. But yeah.
Man, Jackson's going crazy looking up these stats right now, dude.
Oh yeah. He's trying to find any information on Pacheco, and he hasn't found anything as of right now. So I think we have to wait until Tuesday, because Tuesday is when we get our first official look at practice. The reason we have Aiden O'Connell news is because Adam Schefter reported it. So Garrett, do you want to dive right back into the Panthers recap? Because you know what? I will say best game of Mahomes' season. He was on fire. No turnovers, 3 touchdowns, 60 rushing yards, 269 passing, 9 different players with a catch. I mean, Mahomes looked great.
Yeah,
But
I mean, from the fact that he was, under siege like a captain in a castle, right, with the walls just crumbling down around him. He played really well. His poise is great. Didn't make a lot of dumb decisions like we've kind of grown accustomed to him doing, especially early on in the game. Kind of broke his curse. Didn't have a touchdown pass in the first quarter this entire year. Finally got one with Noah Gray early on in the game. But other than that, easily his best game of the season. I mean, he made some really nice throws, but is that enough? We almost lost. So I'm not sure if that's, more on the offense just kind of taking our foot off the gas again, or if the defense just letting these teams get back close in the game. It's kind of a mixture of both. We've talked about before. We can't have multiple parts of our game being good at the same time. It's either our offense is really good and our defense sucks, or our defense is really good and our offense looks like a high school.
well, and my father brought up a good point too. It's like it feels like we can score at will when we want to. It's like, oh, we need 3 points at the end of the drive or end of the game. We just easily got down there. We got down for an easy chip shot field goal, and we had plenty of time to spare too. It's like it feels like we're just turning it on when we have to, and it's like when we were looking bad early and against the Panthers, and we're like, okay, offense, start scoring, and then they did. It's like it's way too. There has to be some playbook stuff that they're just not opening up at that point.
And I mean, we can address the elephant in the room as well. I think a lot of the situations that maybe kind of interrupted our tempo, especially even with the Panthers, the officiating of this game, right?
Oh, that's a good point.
I talked to you earlier. This game, if you watched the game, you know exactly what I'm talking about. This is the game that all NFL ref whiners think that's the game they want, where the refs are just calling everything, 50 million penalties, and then they actually watch this kind of game, and it's a boring slog because no one gets to do anything. All the drives stall out, and it just kills any kind of momentum.
They were calling an evenly reffed game. It's just they were being super anal about what was a penalty. Like it was so ticky tacky.
19 accepted penalties. There were multiple throughout the game that were declined. 19 accepted penalties. 10 for us, 9 for the Panthers. That is astronomical.
I just saw a comment come in that says, do you think Nick Bolton is going to sign with the Panthers next offseason? Bolton's future is kind of up in the air, Garrett. I'd have to say. Like, what do you think in terms of if he's going to be with us?
In terms of Veach, kind of his repertoire about these things in the past is we had a really great situation with a guy like Willie Gay was playing really well for us, was a really great leader on the team. Didn't matter. Let him walk, right? So has Nick Bolton played the exceptional, the amount of success that we needed him to do to warrant Veach keeping him around? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely been a fan favorite due to the fact of his Missouri heritage and his, he was a playmaker for the Super Bowl. He had an amazing play against the Eagles. Like, he's been a tackle machine, but he's been barred by a lot of injuries, and he's getting to that point where Veach might consider you take my offer. If you don't want it, then you're going to have to go find somewhere else.
You can go to the Panthers.
Yeah. And honestly, a team would pay Nick Bolton, and he's a very underrated player. Now, this might be a thing. I thought for sure Dana was going to be gone because he's so underrated. But he tested his market, and he didn't get a contract high enough, and so the Chiefs' offer tended to be the best. I wonder if Nick Bolton is underrated enough to that might happen to him as well. And we get lucky and he gets to come back. So that's where I stand on it. I think his future is definitely the most up in the air right now. You have huge contracts coming up. You have Trey Smith is going to be a free agent. You have, Jackson, if you could pull up the list because it's a huge number of people.
Yeah, it's a really big number.
Justin Reed's another guy, and I don't think he comes back. Like, quite frankly, there's no way he comes back, especially with Jaden Hicks waiting in the wings. And I think Jaden Hicks is ready to take over. But you guys, Justin Reed knows the defense, and he's a leader, and he's going to stay out there, even if he gets burnt by every tight end that ever plays the game of football. But
and I know this is a little biased, but if you put it in perspective like this, if it came down to re-signing either Nick Bolton or Trey Smith, I'm taking Trey Smith. That might just be me because I'm an offensive line guy, but what he brings to the team, I think outweighs what Nick Bolton brings to the team. Yes, Nick Bolton is great at stuffing the run. He's a great run-stopping linebacker, but his liabilities and coverage as we've seen so far, have not really improved. So I'm not really sure what the Veach would want to do with that. But in my personal opinion, I would want Trey Smith over Nick Bolton.
And honestly, I'd kind of agree. At first, I was gonna say like almost anyone can play guard, and honestly, Garrett, I want to know your thoughts on what Kingsley would do at guard because I feel like he would be a good guard, like the way he's built, and he's getting beat by speed rushers. He's gonna have a tackle outside of him to protect against that. I feel like he'd be a good guard.
It's a lot of just the technique that goes into playing guard in the NFL. It's like there's a
Oh,
reason
the
you
pulling.
don't the pulling, and then there's also a reason you don't see a lot of guards that are as tall as tackles. It's because a lot of these interior guys, they're a bit shorter, so getting underneath them is really crucial. Switching tackles and guards around, you need to have especially kind of like a specialist player to do that. And could Kingsley do it? Maybe, but we signed him as a tackle. He needs to improve his craft over there.
Yeah, he does need to be. He was signed to be our left tackle. You're drafted to be our left tackle, and he's a little ways off. I don't think Wanya Morris is the future. I think that's just he's had too many reps and too many mishaps, and DJ Humphries is only a plug and play too. He's not going to be the solution for the long term. So going after this year, it's going to be really, if we don't invest in the O line, I'm going to be concerned, and even concerned for just Mahomes' future. Like he's going to get so banged up. We need to keep him healthy. He already had a scare at an injury this year. Granted, it was on a non-contact play, but still, like you never know what could happen.
But keeping him as safe as possible would negate a lot of those unnecessary, injuries.
So we're going to go back to this new segment, I guess, because it seems to be every week. Every week, Garrett, we let a random wide receiver just go off for an incredible game. This week, it was David Moore from the Panthers. Now, David Moore's been a solid player like a long time ago when he was the wide receiver 3 on the Seahawks. He's since been with the Bears and a bunch of other, like, he had some off the field issues. It wasn't even considered to play ever again, maybe. All of a sudden, that's the Panthers' leading wide receiver against us because random wide receivers go off against us all the time. Garrett, let me pull up his stats real quick.
Yeah, he had 6 catches for 81 yards and a touchdown, which doesn't sound like a lot, but for a guy like David Moore, that is a lot. Adam Thielen came back in, had 3 catches for 57 yards. So this was his first game back all season. Already off to a hot start with 19 yards a catch. Xavier Legette, he also had a pretty decent game. I was kind of expecting a little bit more out of him, especially with the way the Panthers have been playing the last 2 weeks. But Bryce Young kind of followed in Mahomes' footsteps and was able to just kind of pass the ball around to a lot of different people in a lot of different spots. And he was lighting up these zones. I mean, there was everyone watching this probably watched the game. Bryce Young made some top-tier NFL throws this game. I mean, he was diming.
And shout out to Bryce Young. And we talked about him last week. That was the reel we posted too, that we thought Bryce Young, did his organization right. And Vish, our Panthers friend fan, said the benching was good because it brought this out of Bryce. I think he always had it. It's good to see him, finally showcase that he is a 1-1 pick in the NFL. And he did it against us, which hurts a little bit, but I digress. The wide receivers over the last 4 weeks that we've let go off, David Moore this week. Curtis Samuel for the Bills was supposed to be super good, but he was irrelevant all season until they played the Chiefs. Vele for the Broncos had some ups and downs. They deployed him against the Chiefs. He has his first NFL touchdown against us. Great. And then, also all these receivers happen to get touchdowns against us. And I don't know if David Moore has scored another touchdown in this season at all. Sterling Shepard for the Bucks. He hasn't been relevant at all since Mike Evans returned, and even before then. But then again, another random wide receiver that we're just letting go off. It's really weird. It's a weird trend.
Yeah, and I think this kind of stems from our cornerback issues currently, where any guy we have McDuffie on, right, besides that 1 week, he's been pretty locked down. But anyone else besides McDuffie, especially out of press, not very consistent. Najee Johnson didn't play well. Chamari Connor didn't have a great game.
Which is weird, because Connor was so good earlier in the season.
Yeah, it's just the depth we have currently at cornerback is not phenomenal.
Sorry, I'm chewing. There was a stat that I saw that was insane. Spags had 4 defensive sets that game, like just 4 snaps that game, where there was only 1 corner in. And obviously that was McDuffie. But that just shows a lack of trust in our cornerback room. And this guy Todd in this group chat that I'm in said this is reminding him of the Daniel Sorensen, Ben Neiman era, where Spags would deploy them way too often when they didn't need to be out there. And it's like, are we seeing that again now? But with who is the question. But it's just a reminiscent of that time when just the personnel choices are interesting. Najee Johnson's been getting picked on. There were 2 drops on wide receivers he was covering too. He could have had a much worse game, and it still was a pretty bad game. And listen, I like him too. He's a good off the field personality. He's a cool story. He's a UDFA. I love rooting for those guys. But just like, it's hard to justify him being out there. Joshua Williams got another penalty on special teams, Garrett. Another one.
Yeah, he's been kind of a liability back there on pretty much every special team he's been on. So I'm not sure what changed from last year to this year, but it's been pretty tragic.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Jackson brought up the players who were on contract years for the Chiefs, and we're going to kind of go through who we think we should bring back and who we think should go.
I don't have my camera on.
Well,
we can hear you talk as long as that's okay.
You can hear me talk. Justin Reed.
No.
Probably gone.
This is one that was also asked in the comments. Hopkins.
Bring him back.
Well, I know you want to bring Hopkins back. I definitely, I'd like to bring him back if it's cheap. Okay, yeah, bring him back. Whatever.
Bring him back.
And then who?
Yes, if he plays well throughout the rest of the season.
Amenahue could be cheap too, which I like. So that could happen. Yeah, bring him back.
Hollywood.
We haven't seen what he can do, which is the hard part, right?
He might be cheap too, which is great.
I feel like the condition for these is if he's cheap, yeah.
Yeah.
He was another one that was asked in the comments. Bolton.
I already said this is going to be one that's harder to justify, especially because Drew Tranquil's on 3 more years of his deal. Leo Chenal has been a beast, and it's like the new era.
I probably don't re-sign Nick Bolton. Not gonna lie.
It's going to cost too much. There is no if we can get him cheap kind of scenario here. And he's a fan favorite. That one hurts, but we've seen a lot of players we love go.
Yeah.
Maybe a tag and trade. I like a tag and trade for Bolton if we could do that.
Yeah, that works.
Trey Smith.
Sign.
Yeah.
He's crucial to what we do. So
$20 million a year. I'm okay with it.
Justin Watson.
Bring him back.
Oh, Justin Watson. I thought you meant the other one.
No, wait, no, you're right. No, he said Justin Watson.
Yeah, he said Justin Watson, not Jalen. Yeah, no, cut Justin Watson. We bring Jalen Watson back.
Yeah, Justin Watson. It's his time to go. Oh, I love him. He's been a great contributor on the team.
Also, someone asked, "Is this Kelsey's last year if we don't three-peat?" I actually think so. I think if we three-peat, he comes back. I think if we don't, he retires.
Do you really think so?
I think so. I mean, with the mannerisms he has off the field and he has so many opportunities now, especially being in the limelight, right? I think he does.
Here's the thing I'll say. Noah Gray's contract extension does say a lot. The 3-year extension that he got and then the usage he's been getting this year is kind of showing a path towards like we're getting Noah Gray ready to be the guy. So I could see that. It sucks because my first take initially before this whole dating a superstar thing came into factor was that Kelsey was going to play until the brakes fell off. He was going to keep being tight end 3 for the Chiefs if he had to be, as long as he wanted to be on the team. But now I think those priorities have shifted as he's maybe matured into an adult. So I think he could definitely be gone.
With the person saying like, vice versa, in my eyes, if you're an athlete, right, if you three-peat, right, here's what the first thing Mahomes going to say when he gets the microphone if we three-peat. Job ain't finished, right? So if I three-peat and I'm Travis Kelce, I'm going for the 4-peat. I'm going for another thing in history in the NFL books, right? But if we don't, it's just going to be another offseason he has to play through, and it's just, you could tell early on, the hits and all of the physicality is starting to get to him a little bit, right? He saw his brother retire. He sees how that's going for him. I could see it happening, especially if we don't three-peat.
And I saw someone in the comments point out that he still has many years on his contract left. That just honestly doesn't matter. Whenever they want to retire, they retire. It's been a tried and true thing. And honestly, with the Saints, the way they do their contracts, they try to push the money so far that the player retires before the contract expires anyway. It's like a cap glitch, I guess, or something. But eventually that money has to be paid. But I digress. Like, Jackson, who's next on the list?
Uche.
I want to bring O'Shea back because
Think
he's
so?
played very minimal snaps. He's going to be the cheap guy that we bring back, and he's young, and the minimal snaps he's played, he's so strong for a speed rusher, dude. He'll
In that
always,
position
push.
too, like we don't have a ton of depth there, so if he's cheap, I'd rather sign him back.
Yeah, we got to bring some DN back.
Wharton.
Bring him back.
Bring back Turk, baby. I love Wharton. He's one of my favorite players.
He's
Now
super underrated.
We haven't seen anything from this guy, but Humphreys. Do we sign him for another year?
I mean,
No.
it depends, right?
Year?
We got to see him play first, but
we gotta
I
see him
mean,
play.
there's no way. He's 31 already, too. Like, it's kind of like a Donovan Smith situation. It was just a rental until the next guy was ready. Just the next guy wasn't ready, so we have to do it again.
Got to rent a guy again. You know, the rent a
Yeah.
chief,
Rent a tackle.
rent a tackle.
No,
Is there any Naughty?
there's a lot more.
Okay.
There's really a lot more.
Yeah, no, I told you there's so
Naughty.
many players
Naughty.
on contract here.
I like Naughty. I really like our like athletic, fat D tackles.
I think this is finally the year we don't sign Naughty to a 1-year deal. I think he's been on 3 1-year deals in a row now. I think he's finally. This
Think
is the
so.
year we don't bring him back.
Would you rather have Naughty or Wharton?
Wharton, 100%.
I think Wharton. Yeah.
He's younger too, and he's he's got sacks on the year too. Like Wharton's a pass rusher as well, which I like.
I'm gonna do these two together, Clyde and P. Ryan.
No.
Both are probably gone, especially, and I think Kareem Hunt's gone too because I know that one's coming up as well. Well, somebody's got to stay, but I think it'll be Steele.
I'd rather keep Kareem. I'm not gonna lie. I'd rather keep Pacheco and Kareem.
I don't think we could keep. I don't think we're going.
But I mean, with his production, how can you say against that? He's gonna be cheap.
That's true. You know, I'll give you that. But I think Steele will definitely come back, and the running back room next year will be Steele, Pacheco, obviously, and then I guess we got to get somebody else. So, yeah.
Bring Kareem back.
All right, fine.
Kareem is also. This is also. It was a 1 year.
Yeah, bring him back. He's really outplayed what anybody expected him to do. So
Also, I like P. Ryan over Clyde. And here's the thing about Clyde. Love the guy, even though he's been not what a first-round pick running back was supposed to live up to. He's going to be on the roster as a healthy and active for the rest of the season. Honestly, a huge gesture by the Chiefs to make sure he gets paid out of his contract, letting him go to games and dress for games and be with the team. Just to support his mental health with the situation he's been going through. So honestly, commendable by them, and I'm glad that Clyde's on the team, even though he won't be contributing probably unless some injuries happen.
Now, if we don't re-sign Naughty, does that mean we should re-sign Pennell then?
He's getting old, but he's been playing his best season.
but bring Mike Pennell back.
He's also
he's still got
a
some gas
He's
in
a friend
the
of the
tank.
show.
He's
Bring
a friend
back
of the
Mike
show.
Pennell.
I'm gonna do these next two together again. Juju and Hardman.
Where our wide receiver room is getting too deep to the point where I don't think if we do bring them back, it'll be like we did this year, late in the offseason because there's a need.
I feel like Hardman brings in the special teams need, whereas Juju doesn't really fill the need of anything, especially if we go into next year. As much as I love the guy, we dropped him for a reason, but we brought him back for a need. But once that need is no longer needed,
it depends on Rice suspension too. But then again, I think we're drafting another wide receiver next year. We need to because it's like a 3rd round pick one. Why can't Veach take like 6th round wide receivers? They've been so good lately.
What's Butker's timeline return? I think 2 more weeks, right?
2 to 3.
2 to 3.
Jackson?
Fortson and Hendershot.
No, both gone.
No.
Not even
Jody Fortson is made of glass, and Peyton Hendershot.
We traded for him.
Right. So.
Millie Karen.
Nah.
Jackson, how many more guys are on this list?
I'm gonna give you 3 more names.
Okay. Herring, it's whatever.
Yeah. No, I've skipped
don't
a
need him.
couple. Matt Ariza.
Bring him back.
Bring him back, dude.
Signed
He's
to
been
an
lighting it up.
extension.
He's been lighting up, dude. I mean, I was sad when we lost Townsend. I mean, he was a fan favorite. But Matt Ariza's really filled the role, and he's been booming those things. So
Townsend's making like $5 million. That's why he's not here.
Yeah.
Is unfortunately the reality. I don't think Ariza's going to get that much. So
when will we see the new wide receiver? As early as Christmas, as late as the playoffs.
I'm gonna just give you one more because this could be an interesting one. Caliendo.
I want to bring him back.
Bring him back. Super underrated backup guard. He's kind of like our, like I said earlier, like a specialist. He can play literally anywhere. So bring him back.
He's our Nick Allegretti replacement.
Yeah,
and that's a very valuable position. Is the Nick Allegretti replacement, because Nick Allegretti is the replacement for anybody who gets injured.
Yeah,
this is why I thought it could be interesting. Because what are your thoughts on him possibly playing tackle? Then could we sign him as that?
So the issue with that is, like, he is a specialist, but he's more for the interior positions.
Yeah.
He's more like, I mean, that would be like an emergency, like, oh, we have to have somebody at tackle, right?
That'd be if everybody got injured.
Yeah, that'd be if everybody got injured.
Which has happened before.
It has happened with the Bucs Super Bowl, so who knows? Knock on wood, right? Hopefully that doesn't happen again. But Caliendo, yeah, he's that specialist. We have CJ Hansen back there. He's been inactive a couple times, but he's back there at guard.
Luke Bowen asked about Schrader, if we're gonna let him go when Butker gets back. He'll probably go to our practice squad.
Yeah.
I can't see him signing to another team. But
the issue is he's been playing really well. So the moment we drop to a practice squad, some team that's probably struggling with kicker probably just picks him up. So regardless if we dropped him or not, he probably won't be back on the team anytime soon.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because Butker was the same way. We got him from the Panthers, like, having him as a UDFA, and then he didn't end up winning their kicking job. So we were like, oh, we'll take him. But yeah.
I'm a little late. Who do you guys think will re-sign? You just missed that whole segment. For the last 15 minutes, we've been going through like the 30-name list of who's on the chopping block. So.
But if you go to our YouTube, which is pinned in the comments now, you can rewind, and also it'll be uploaded after, so go watch that. But let's move on to the game of the week. It's Black Friday football.
It's the Raiders, baby.
Is it gonna be on Amazon, or where is this played?
Was it Netflix? I think it's Netflix.
No, that's for Christmas.
No,
which is also a disaster. But we're gonna play on every streaming service that ever existed, Garrett. That's the Chiefs are on all streaming services.
It is on Prime.
Okay, well
Prime.
that prime time Black Friday, go Black Friday Day.
Well, think about the Raiders. Yeah,
they beat us last Christmas.
They beat us. I was at that game at Arrowhead.
Oh, I remember this.
It was freezing cold. I don't go to a lot of Arrowhead games. Those ticket prices go crazy now. So when I do go, I'm super excited. I was pumped. Energy was crazy because it was so cold. We get there, pick six, and then a fumble. And then the doors fall off, right? So we can't have that happen again. If we don't have a pick six into a fumble, 2 straight drives, I think we'll be okay. Minshew got injured. Obviously, he's out for the rest of the season, which doesn't really matter because the guy who might come in and play, Aiden O'Connell, beat us last time. So does that really change too much on the quarterback front? I'm not too sure. They brought in Desmond Ridder, and I told David earlier, if we end up losing to Desmond Ridder, you will not see me anymore. Well, we'll just put it like that.
I like that. I like how you put it. There were some rumors of Danny Dimes potentially going to the Raiders. Those rumors have since been shut down, as Danny Dimes said he's going to wait before he picks his next team. There's a lot of moving parts and a lot of opportunities that he needs to scan through. And good on him, because the Giants kind of screwed him, even though he's not a great quarterback. But I don't think he's a bad quarterback either, Garrett.
No, he's pretty bad.
I think his situation is so horrible. I don't think any quarterback can succeed. I'd like to see what he can do on another team.
I would love to see Daniel Jones pull a Taysom Hill and go try and play like tight end / quarterback for a team.
You know what? I could see that.
I think he'd be really good at that, actually. Like, not even joking. I think Daniel Jones could be a crazy Taysom Hill type player.
He's tall, he's big, just put on some more muscle, and he can run. And there's that funny video of him tripping, but he hit like 22 miles an hour on that run.
Dude, he had a faster all-time speed than Lamar Jackson that season on run. Yeah, he was faster than any of Lamar Jackson's run that season.
So, I mean, hey, Danny Dimes, go play the Taysom Hill position. You know, Taysom Hill is getting old himself, so maybe the Saints will have an opening in that right there for him.
Now, you'd have to take a major pay cut, obviously. But, hey, if you want to play some football, those are your options, buddy. It's either that or, go to Canada and play the CFL.
But back to the Raiders at hand. They are banged up at corner. Nate Hobbs, really underrated, kind of cooked against us before. He's questionable for this game. Same with Pokorny and Bennett. Both of them were ruled out last week against the Broncos, and they exploited the heck out of that by using Cortland Sutton to his fullest potential. And Cortland Sutton's been looking really good, by the way, for the Broncos. But yeah, the Broncos could not run at all, and they just passed it all over the Raiders defense, which honestly, I hope we do pass it all over them, because last week, Garrett, or not last week, but the last time we played the Raiders this year, dude, they actually shut down our run game. Like, they actually somehow stopped it. And
now,
they held Kareem Hunt to under 60 yards, and they did the same thing to the Broncos running backs. They held all the Broncos running backs combined to under 60 yards in this game. So their run defense has like completely 180'd.
Yeah, and however, the other flip side of that is they won't have a run game either, right? The one thing that's been consistently great about the Chiefs defense this year has been the run game, right? I still think we're on that same streak where we have not had a even combined rushing total of over 100 yards since the Ravens game. I think the Bills might have actually went a little over 100 yards. Not too sure, but that's combined, right? That's Josh Allen. That's a couple of their running backs combined as well.
James Cook.
With Zamir White and Alexander Madison out, their starting running backs are Amir Abdullah and Sincere McCormick.
Hey, Amir Abdullah's a dog. I don't want to hear it. I've thought he was the best running back on that team, and it may be biased because look at the Nebraska Cornhusker thing right there. I grew up watching Amir Abdullah. He proved he was pretty good against a stout run defense from the Broncos. You know, his 8 rushes for 28 yards, they got game scripted out really quick of running the ball anyway. But his 5 catches for 37 yards and a touchdown, Garrett, that's how lots of teams use their running backs against us, is in the receiving game.
Yeah, because we just somehow always leave them wide open, which is just due to the fact that we send pressure from everywhere, including the guy that's just so happened to be on the running back in probably man coverage, right? Yeah. So I don't think run game wise, I honestly think we could keep him under 50 yards total rushing.
I could agree with that in the sense that Amir Abdullah is not amazing in the run game, but in the receiving game, he is really good. And last matchup we had with them this season, we held Madison to 14 carries for 15 yards, which is just a beautiful stat. I just love that stat. That is just absolutely disrespect your running back. We don't think he's good. He is absolutely terrible. And honestly, Chiefs defense. Really, that was the 3 stops on 3rd and 1 too. Yeah. The 4 stops because they ended up going for it on 4th down. So
yeah, realistically, I mean, my only kind of like worries is a guy like Jacoby Myers and Brock Bowers, even Michael Mayer. We've had multiple times throughout the season, the secondary tight end goes off for a lot of yards, right? So I could also expect Michael Mayer to have a great game. It's just, as long as we can keep the running backs from gaining a lot of like these tough yardage, keep them in like these 3rd and long situations, I think we'll be successful. But if for some weird reason Amir Abdullah is the Chiefs' kryptonite on the run defense and he's getting these consistent 5-yard gains, it's going to be a long night for Kansas City.
Yeah, and another guy who I think might step up is Trey Tucker. He's the kind of slot, like speed wide receiver that the Raiders deploy. Those guys have been kind of eating the Chiefs alive, quite frankly. It's just the slot receivers. And I think Trey Tucker is bound for a successful game against our secondary, who has been just getting eaten alive with slot receivers, quite frankly. Just any receivers that aren't the wide receiver one.
And, I mean, obviously, we have to talk about this man. The biggest struggle in our offense that's going to be going in this game is blocking Max Crosby, right?
Yes.
With the amount of struggles our tackles have had already, if we don't have a solution, whether that's consistently double teaming Max Crosby, whether that be with running back help, with the tackle and guard kind of working off of each other, figuring out that kind of positioning. If we don't figure it out, it's going to be a long night for our man Patrick Mahomes.
Now, last matchup, we only allowed 1 sack, and it was to Tyree Wilson. And hopefully we can continue to block well, which is weird because they have like a pretty good defensive line, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, they got guys like, like Charles Snowden, Caleb Von Chase on, Robert Spillane got in there a couple times. Jack Jones was going crazy on us last game.
The corner, the corner, Jack Jones. Yeah,
he was going crazy.
Oh, do they also have Concy, the guy who like decided to go off against us on Christmas for like his first breakout game?
I think he's on IR actually.
Oh, okay, that's fair. Okay, do they have Christian Wilkins is out for the season too, right?
Yeah, he's out as well.
So that may be why they don't have any D tackles. It seems is the issue here, but. Still, I mean, that's not the problem we've had blocking. It's the D ends and anyone else that decides to attack.
Yeah, what I would assume the Raiders are going to do is they obviously know we're going to try and figure out some kind of scheme and game plan against Max Crosby. And I think regardless of how he's going to get pressures, but I think he's going to be a huge distraction on their defense, and they're going to find other ways to kind of force him out of the way and open up a lot of these lanes for, let's say, a guy like Tyree Wilson, right? If he's lining him off the edge, or a guy like, as we talked earlier, Robert Spillane. I'm really worried because our tackle play from when we played them before to now has devolved. We have not gotten better. We haven't gotten better, which is the weird part. Because normally throughout the season, you get the jitters off, you start settling in a little bit. A guy like Wanya Morris, might have had a couple bad games to start the season. He's gotten worse. So I'm worried for Mahomes. I'm worried for our passing game, especially against the Raiders, because that's what a lot of people don't understand is like when Mahomes has these bad games, yes, there have been multiple times this season. He has made really dumb decisions. He's played bad football, but he's feeling a lot of phantom pressure and just regular pressure because he is getting assaulted every game. And we saw it, especially last week when they got home 5 or 6 times, right? And on the flip side, we can't get sacks. So I'm not sure how we're going to fix this because we can't sack anybody, it seems.
I don't think DJ Humphries plays this week either, which is another question that we've been getting because he needs like another week in the system. This is technically his first. This is his day one today, right now in our system. He's not going to be ready to go by Friday. So maybe he is, honestly. Who knows? But I don't think he's going to be ready to go by Friday. Tackle is a position that you need to, gel with the rest of the guys on the line. You need to know all your checks. There's different protections depending on how the defense is looking. It's going to take a while. Not a while, but at least more than 4 days, which is what he's going to have. But Garrett, what do you think of score prediction segment, as we always do?
Man, it's always tough, man, because, as we saw last week, I think I projected it to be like 31-14 or something like. I think it was 35-14 was my projection against the Panthers. Obviously completely wrong. Forgot we can't blow out any teams, so I'm going to go under a similar presumption that we're not going to be able to pull away. I think we're going to they're somehow going to be in it late in the fourth. I'm going to go 28-25.
All right, I mess with that.
Or 28-24, sorry.
Okay.
25 makes no sense.
Hey, they could get there. You could score 25
Never
points.
Know.
But I think it's going to be a lower scoring game. I think it's going to be, cold out there, and offenses are just not going to be clicking this game. I think it's going to be 21-17. And honestly, I'm going into this game with expectations of just anything can happen because it's a rivalry game. We aren't playing our best football, but we are at the same time. Our defense isn't playing as good, but then our offense is. No one's on cue. It's going to be so hard to project. But what we can't project, Garrett, is 2 more Noah Gray touchdowns. Imagine he does that. Imagine he does 3 weeks in a row of 2 touchdowns. Noah Gray,
he's been playing really well. He's been playing well.
So
he's a red zone demon. He's really, just finding his own way to get open and just get the ball in his hands. Now, this is another big part about this week. Us Chiefs fans, we could be pretty excited. If we beat the Raiders on Friday, we eliminate them from playoff contention. This is a must-win game for the Raiders. For both teams, really. We need to keep our lead in terms of seeding, and they need to win so they can be in the playoffs. So it could be a win-win for us. We win, keep our lead, and we eliminate the Raiders.
I'd love to do it. And on Black Friday, the best holiday everybody knows,
But dude, it's Black Friday. It's the black hole. It's the Raiders' day. Oh my God, dude, the conspiracies are going to be going crazy.
Yeah, I just think this is an important game. We need to win this game, and just great analysis as always. Yeah. Guys, we're tired. It's been a long flight, honestly, to get in from Kansas City from Texas, and I left all my equipment in Texas.
This blanket poncho I got on. It's been like heavy all stream, so I'm just getting nice and tired. It's super comfy. It's getting cold out here in the KC area, man. So you gotta bundle up a little bit.
Yeah, no, I went out in just a hoodie, and it was definitely not a good idea. It was too cold out there, man. It was too cold, but we're excited to be back, guys. Again, a little more of a pessimistic episode, but we really do think the Panthers were a quality enough opponent, and it's a close game, but it felt like we had control. And
Veach, I know you're watching. Please convince Andy Reid to not take his foot off the gas. Let's blow out a team for once in our lives, right? And we just want to thank all the people in the comments for coming, showing your support, giving us all these questions. We're going to continue, and we plan to keep doing these live. Are we doing every Monday, or are we going to go back to Tuesday?
I think I'd prefer to do it every Monday, honestly. And honestly, we should finish out the block by answering some of our questions, because I agree with the Steelers game has been my trap game since before we even started the season. I circled that game on like our episode in the podcast where we went over the schedule breakdown. That's like episode like 3 maybe, Garrett, or like 2
4 or 5 something.
Yeah, like it's back there. But Steelers and Texans game Texans are on the December 21st, which is a game that we're going to have to play hard, even though I know the Titans gave them a run for their money. But then we turn around 4 days, play the Steelers, which will be the best defense in the NFL, hands down. There is no better defense than the Steelers. And there was a point when I thought our defense could compete with the Steelers defense, but that point is gone and done. Steelers defense best in the league. They're going to have a field day. They have 3 DNs that I fear. They have Nick Herbig is the smallest of the 3, but you have Alex Highsmith and TJ Watt coming off the edge, and I think they just traded for Preston Smith too. So like.
And also, with that being, the Steelers also have a huge advantage in that, and they are our 3rd game in 10 days in that stretch. We play the Browns on the 15th, the Texans on the 21st, and the Steelers on the 25th. So we are going to be banged up, tired, going into Pittsburgh. So that is going to be a huge game. If we can pull out a win there, I would be very, very excited and also a little bit kind of surprised.
I'm not going to lie. That's a game I'm projecting us to lose. It's a game I project us to lose before we even knew the Steelers were good. The Steelers are not only good, they might be one of the top 5 teams in the AFC or in the NFL, you might be able to say. Even with Russ under center, who has started to finally look back to Russie, the one we knew and loved, the one that's kind of mid right now. But hey, Justin Fields came in a lot that game too. For all we know, they're starting Justin Fields by the time we play him on Christmas. You never know. But either way, Mike Tomlin, great coach. It's going to be a battle on Christmas Day. It's going to be a battle on Black Friday. But thank you all for watching so much. We've hit 20 episodes of this thing, guys.
20. It's been a ride, man.
And you guys have grown the YouTube channel a lot. We urge you guys in the comments on Instagram to go check out the YouTube channel. Because, I mean, I post the same shorts, but at least you can have, like, the full episodes. You can, like, scroll and clip us if we get something wrong.
And a lot of the reels, I mean, we have a couple reels that come out, but that only adds up to about 5 minutes of the hour and 2 minute long podcast that we have right now. So you're missing out a lot if you're not watching the full thing.
Yeah, we have a lot of fun, like, breakdowns, too, that we just can't post because we only get 4 reels a week. But, yeah. I know the Bills fans love to, rip apart our worthy take. Ironically, a great take because that was his best game to that point. But, we're just chill guys who, we're okay with the Bills loss.
You did not just do the chill guy meme right now.
Garrett, do you like the chill guy meme?
It's
before
everywhere.
We end?
It's everywhere.
Dude, wasn't that a thing that came up a year ago too? Like, didn't that already exist before? Like, I swear I've seen it before, like before this year.
We're devolving, David. We're devolving. But as always, baby, we're always just talking chop. Thank y'all for coming, and peace out.
Peace out.